Hello! Time to continue our Gameboy Extravaganza with a look at some of the accessories available for it. I'm not talking about the major ones like the camera and the printer, not yet anyway, that's for another time. We're looking at the more fundamental and basic ones, and frankly the more frickin' ridiculous ones when we get down to it. And let us start with the most obvious and arguably the most important accessory of all, a case to carry your Game Boy around in so it doesn't get all smashed up. This is my actual one. I had a Naki Industries Pro pouch back in the day. It's a hideous colour, which is why it was super cheap, I imagine. Stitching's coming away, but it did well over the years. So let us break out the Game Boy, not my original one, that died years ago. And look, there's a slot for games, containing only this empty case. A yellow third-party one, which I only show because it has the amusingly ironic Pride USA, made in Mexico. So, Game Boy then. Well, we're going to be using Mortal Kombat 2. Hang on. See, told you, as the control game, because I know exactly how it controls, how it should feel, and indeed what the sound should sound like, because I've played it so many times over the bloody years. It's a remarkably good conversion of the arcade machine in that it actually feels a bit like playing it, which frankly for an 8-bit conversion is above and beyond the Call of Duty. Right, just turn it on to check the, yep. If the Nintendo image there is corrupted, then it's probably not in properly. But this one is, so let's get on and have a look, shall we? Now, there are various problems with the Game Boy. The first one being it's bloody hard to see the screen in a certain light, so there were a lot of light accessories, which we'll come on to. But another one is that it has a mono speaker, and yet all the games are in stereo. In fact, to my knowledge, literally all of them are in stereo. You can listen through the old phone jack there. That was one of the selling points over the NES. One of the few advantages is this will do stereo sound. But you wail as you get a bus to the shops. How can I listen to this in stereo without plugging headphones in? Well, don't worry, because about 1 million different companies had you covered here. For instance, here's Doc's Mini Boomer. Amplified stereo speaker system for Game Boy. And there's Doc. Look at him, the crazy maniac who lives in the Phantom Zone or something. Right, improve the sound of your games, hear all the details, hear all the sound cues, true stereo, separate left and right channels. Yep, that's kind of implicit in the true stereo bit. And Game Boy. Strangely elongated Game Boy, but Game Boy nonetheless. Uses 200-line battery, simply slides onto the Game Boy, blah, 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 and makes it fricking huge. Ah, maybe that's why it's elongated. Right, I believe I've already put batteries in this. I hope they haven't rotted over the years. Let's have a listen. This is going to take a while. This is going to go bling first, isn't it? There we are. Told you. Go on. Yep, Mortal Kombat 2. We don't. Get on with it. And the suspense. Here we go. Now we're going to plug this in. I'll turn it on first, actually. As you can hear, it is indeed a lot louder and stereo-y. And I've managed to somehow turn it off, apparently. I'm going to turn that down a bit, you won't be able to hear me. What a tragedy that would be. There's quite a lot of hiss coming from it, actually. Now we hold it up. Probably because it's an incredibly cheap pair of stereo speakers, running off a couple of AA batteries. Now you'll notice one of the problems is, it's all very well and funky having this thing in, and being able to blast out noises quite amazingly. It does make your Game Boy somewhat unwieldy, shall we say. You can still play on it all right, but it's going to take up a lot more room in your pocket or whatsoever. So, you wouldn't want anything really big attaching to it, would you? Because that would be silly, wouldn't it? Yes, anybody who was around for the Game Boy knows where this is going already. Right, so your screen could do with being a bit bigger, couldn't it? Maybe, and you know, need some lights on it, and how about some stereo speakers, and how about a bloody great massive thing that does all that? Presenting the Joy Plus Handy Boy. Handy is not something I would use to describe this, to be brutally honest with you. It slots over it like this, still giving you access to all the controls and things at the side. This plugs into the old bottom for the phones. And wait for it. In case this wasn't quite ridiculous enough, you've got some crazy bloody control thing you slip onto here, therefore covering the perfectly good D-pad and buttons with these slightly dodgy ones where you can only slide your thumb for A and B, and this whole thing feels spongy and horrible already, and I haven't even tried it properly. This then folds out to present stereo speakers, and you've got a light magnifier, which was one of their methods of lighting the screen. and not a very effective one, frankly. You get more glare, and it was frankly harder to see the bloody thing going. Now, an interesting point about the Handy Boy is it doesn't take any batteries. But how does it get any power, you ask? Wait for it. By actually intercepting the contacts of the Game Boy. I am not kidding. So you've got to... this should actually fit onto the back with Velcro, but I don't have the other bit of Velcro, so it's going to be a bit floaty. Can we just shove this in here? Or is the spring that side? Nope, the spring's that side. Okay. We shall put that in like that. And this one can go in quite a bit more easily. Like that. There we are, look at that. How safe. It is all super. Plug that in there. Can't believe I'm actually doing this. And this connects into the DC thing at the side. Have I done this correctly? We shall soon find out if it explodes or not. Hang on, where's this one go? Oh god, now I'm confused. If that's not the... So if that one goes in there, like... How does this thing work? So, where does this one go? What? Oh god, I'm going to have to look at the instructions. Jump cut. Oh, that was quick. Didn't need the instructions. Suddenly spotted the power input on the top. It's all coming back to me. So basically this looks like a mad scientist's experiment with a Game Boy in the middle. There's now 1,000 wires poking out of every bloody orifice on it, running everything. Right, let's turn it on. Well, it hasn't caught fire, so that's a good start. Can you see it? No? Well, let's turn on the power lights. Doo-doo-doo. There. Now we can see everything perfectly from these slightly dim bulbs in the side, because they hadn't really invented decent LEDs. Turn the old stereo speakers on. Let's have the old volume up a bit. Can you sort of see what's going on there? Because I bloody can't. Oh my god, right, I'm going to have to then try and play this on these new ridiculous controls at the bottom. Start. Go on. Start game. Let us... Yeah, we'll be Liu Kang there. Okay. This is what's super not easy to see through the viewfinder, but never mind. Right. Oh my god, I've been hit by Katana's fans or something. Oh man, these buttons are horrible. You have to kind of roll your thumb on them. And it's incredibly difficult to control them by sticking this stupid joystick on top of the perfectly good D-pad. Yeah, I imagine even if you did want all the crazy accoutrements at the top, you would not be particularly keen on what this frankly ludicrous joypad attachment, which should not exist and should have stayed in the madman's dreams. Well, there we go. So that's how to make your Game Boy not only look ridiculous, but also considerably less portable. You can see the screen a lot better with the naked eye, but it's still not as clear as it was before we were actually plugging it all on. The main reason being, there's so many bloody reflections and shadows from all the crap hanging off it. Anyway, that's enough of that one. Let me unplug it. This may take a few weeks. Grab it out of the contacts there. Here we go. Oh god, no, it's stuck in that one. Oh good. There we are. I feel like I've violated the Game Boy in some extremely unpleasant manner. Thank you, Handy Boy. You were anything but. So, it was still technically portable. Can't get any worse than that, can you? Bloody hell. Welcome to the Booster Boy. Yes, if it doesn't look giant and ridiculous enough, it weighs a freaking ton because it takes 4 C-cell batteries. Absolutely unbelievable. If I put this back in, that would help. Oh, look, cartridge storage in the bottom because of, you know, wasted space. So, the obvious idea here, open this up, slot in your Game Boy. And there like that. Oh, you could actually use it to prolong the battery life, look, by plugging that in, which is quite handy. Because, of course, the previous one was piggybacking on the batteries in the Game Boy, therefore would massively reduce the battery life of it. Well done, lads. Right, we won't bother plugging that DC one in, I don't think. I'll just go in like that. Yeah, that's all working nicely. Plug that back on. And wow, your portable gaming system is now no longer portable. So what have we got going on? We've got the DC adapter, which presumably just... let's have a look. Yep. Goes straight into the side there and basically elongates the lead. You've got a pair of shitty free sub-Poundland headphones which sit in here. Thanks, lads. Oh, look, you can get to the contrast through it. Hey, here's my favourite bit. Volume and external connector open. and it's like half a mile in there, but it is doubtless actually in there. You've got these ridiculous knobs at the side, which are the stereo speakers. You have got a really hideously elongated joystick, meaning you can virtually not play anything. You've got A and B buttons, which barely work at all, and a gigantic chunky light magnifier. Oh yeah, now we're cooking with something which has never even heard of the concept of gas. Right, let's turn it on, which you do using the on-off switch, which is a big hole into the original Game Boy, obviously. And sound. Oh blimey. Quite loud actually, big hissing. I'm going to turn that down, it's going to be difficult to hear at home. And lights. And lights off. And lights on. And lights off. And lights on. Yeah, this is considerably harder to see through than the last one was, and that's saying something. You're getting less shadow because the thing's further out. I can sort of see well enough to play. I don't think you at home can. Well, let's have a quick go. Come on, start. We may as well go with Liu Kang for the simple reason that I'm not going to be able to do anything anyway. I'm probably going to have to move it away from me because I cannot see the screen at all through the viewfinder. Right, what are the buttons like? Oh, the buttons are better than last time, considerably better. Actually, they work quite nicely. The joystick thing is even worse, though. It's now extremely difficult to get a diagonal, and the whole thing is spongy and awful, and frankly makes me want to vomit copious chunks of hatred directly into it. But other than that, it's great. My God, what a ridiculous piece of crap. I mean, it's like, why do you want to strap your Game Boy into a frickin' JCB? I really can't see the appeal of that one. I don't know, perhaps you're trying to turn it into your own home arcade unit. Hey, imagine that. Oh my God, Konami did exactly that thing. Let me turn this off and show you if I can ever rescue the Game Boy. Ah, there we are. We got there in the end. And we present to you the Konami Hyper Boy. Before we look at it properly, I'm going to quickly show you the box, actually, for it is massively amusing. It has that sort of hyperbole that only Japanese boxes from back in the early 90s had. Various gems on here include, it'll take your game-playing style to a new dimension. Yeah, we can't control it. New ideas. Your desire to play will be born. And other such excitements. And here is typical Japanese child in really quite crazy hot pants playing on his amazing new arcade machine. Oh, plastic dinosaurs at the top. Maybe he grew up to be Wash from Firefly. And there is the unit itself. It's pointless showing you because we've got the whole thing actually here. Now this one's a lot easier to attach than the others. Turn on your Game Boy, slot it in, and make sure you've got the two D-cell batteries that go inside it, which I won't bother showing you because it's really hard to get them in and out. Now one point of interest here is that the joystick, which is so spongy it's actually terrifying. Actually, let me show you how this works. It's fairly apparent, but I can't show you because there's not enough light. I can see it, but you never can. Oh no, here we go, that will do. As you can see, it literally just pushes through little plastic sticks here, which then push the buttons on the Game Boy. How else would they do it, I suppose? So, can you see it? No, neither can I. Let us turn the lights on. Hey, and the stereo speakers are going. And this is kind of Mortal Kombat 2 from an immense distance. Now this is the hardest one to see yet. The whole top of the display to the naked eye is cut off in total shadow, so you can't see the health bars or anything. Good work, Konami! Right, start, many starts. Have we started yet? Start. Right, I'm going to be Reptile, who's over to the right. How can I tell them apart from Sub-Zero and Scorpion when they're all the same colour? The answer is experience. Right. Round one, go. I'm going to have to put it here and try and play. I apologise you can't see. Right, the buttons are the worst yet. They're super spongy and horrible, and you have to push them quite hard for them to really do anything. And the stick is dreadful. This, I'd say it's slightly better than the last one, but still incredibly... There's so much movement and travel in it, which you just don't need, because it's such a definite little joypad on the Game Boy. Yeah, my big problem with this, other than the fact it's obviously hideous, is... yeah, you can't really get the diagonals or anything. It's all massively disappointing. Let's turn it off. One point of interest, you can actually change the little restrictor here by flicking this across. Whoop. And now the joystick will only go in 4 directions. Except it doesn't, because it's nowhere near restrictive enough. You can still go pretty far up in the diagonals, in fact. It needs to be a lot tighter than that for it to become truly 4-dimensional like the old arcade joysticks. It's a real shame, because, you know, as it physically looks, it looks like quite an interesting thing, whereas the others look like ridiculous pieces of shit that dropped out of Satan's bumhole. This does actually look like something you might want to use and play, but sadly ruined by spongy joystick and spongy buttons and overall sponginess. So there you go, there's some exciting things you could buy for your Game Boy in the vain hope of actually being able to play it when you weren't directly under one of the most powerful light sources known to man, and you could hear it in stereo whilst you couldn't really see the screen and all the controls went funny. Oh, the fun we had. Still, I think the best way was probably this. And I do remember my friend actually having a light thing which attached to it, which was quite effective, but did take 4 AA batteries in a big sort of blob on the top. It meant you could play it in the dark, and it was slightly easier in the low light conditions, but overall, well, made it less portable. And isn't the whole point of the Game Boy to be as portable as possible? You know, it was a bit big for your pocket anyway. Do you really want to be adding massive amounts of bulk and crazy shit to it? If the answer is yes, well, you know what to go on eBay and find.
Subscribe for more.